everyone. This is Ananya from A Slice of Art, and today I'm at Zoya's unveiling of the Peace Monument maquette at the Sammamish Library. And right now I have the great pleasure and the great honor of speaking with the Senator of Washington State, Senator Vandana Slatter. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with her.
Hi, Ananya. It's so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
Yes, my name is Vandana Slatter, State Senator in the 48th District, and I represent parts of Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, all of Medina, Clyde Hill, and the Points communities.
Yes.
So I'm really proud to have art come into my community.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for that.
And thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Oh, of course, it's great.
Mhm.
You had a few questions,
Yes.
and I'm very happy to talk a little bit about,
Mhm.
what brought me to politics and my journey.
Okay, so first I was wondering, you've definitely broken some barriers, being both of Indian origin and a woman. So, can you just break down your journey for me a little bit, like any challenges you faced or just anything in general?
Well, politics was never really a profession in my household.
Mhm.
So I have had a full career before I actually decided to run for office. So I'm a pharmacist by training, a clinical scientist, and I worked in the biotech industry and in the hospital for almost 25 years before I decided to, instead of working in the private sector, try to do maybe drug development in the public sector, like the Gates Foundation or PATH, something like that. That was kind of what was capturing my interest. But as a young person, I was always fascinated by policy, by making change in government. I was a student president of my high school, but it was never, like I said, a profession, right? Like I always thought,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to go into science, I'm going to do this other thing. And it wasn't until much later in life that I decided to take my knowledge and all the things I'd learned in my career and actually use that to make a difference in policy. And the story that I often tell about what inspired me to do work in government is that when my son was born, he was born in 1996. I was working at the Upjohn Company in Michigan, and 93, the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act was passed. What that allowed women to do was to stay home for 8 weeks paid and up to 21 weeks unpaid. So for 6 months, I could stay home with him and breastfeed him and take care of him. He was small when he was born and needed care. And I didn't have any family in that area except for my husband. And so basically, I took advantage of that and I got my job back because that's what the Federal Family Medical Leave Act does. It allows you to
Yes.
get your job back. And I did work in clinical research on an antibiotic that helped to save many lives. And I was really proud of that work. And 20 years later, when my father was had a surgery and he had a really bad infection, this antibiotic helped to save his life.
Oh.
He did ultimately die of cancer, but we had time with him. And I remember sitting beside his bedside and looking up at this IV bag with this name of this drug that I had a chance to work on. So when I think about government and the power of policy, because that wasn't just luck, it was that there was a law that somebody passed that made a difference in my son's life, that allowed me to get my job back, which is economic power in a
Yes.
family
Yes.
for women,
Mhm.
and to be able to use my skills, not any job, but a job that was actually relevant to what I was interested in and what I was trained for. And then that work made a difference in my family's life 20 years later,
Yes.
my father's life. And so I believe that policy is there to remove barriers and to provide people the possibility to achieve their potential.
Mhm.
And I think that's what government does. So that's what fuels me. It's why I ran for office. It's what I do when I go to work every day when I think about policy.
Mhm. I've never thought about it that way before because, like politics, policy, government, those are words that are just like thrown out there.
100%.
And a lot of times they hardly even mean anything to people. I think that's really going to change my viewpoint of all that. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
So-
you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
because I feel like we have a lot of work to do to help
Mhm.
government be accessible to people. And sometimes it doesn't work so well for people. And so we
Yes.
need to acknowledge that and figure out how to remove barriers and create a partnership
Mhm.
with people in their lives.
Yes, 100%. And after this whole journey you've
Yeah.
come across, after everything you've done so far,
Yeah.
what's like one key takeaway or one key piece of advice
Yeah.
you'd give to kids who are still figuring out what they want to do and who they want to be when they grow up?
Well, I think one of the things that we always feel like is we feel like once you make a decision, it's final.
Yeah.
And it actually isn't,
Mhm.
right? Like for me, it was a non-linear path. Like I did all these other things and then I decided to run for office. And so I don't feel like people should ever feel like locked in to a
Mhm.
particular thing. I think really, really listening to yourself. What do I feel like? What do I love? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
What matters to me? Just start there. Just
Mhm.
start small. Start there. Take that step, and then eventually it will open another door, and it will open another door. I often tell people to walk through open doors. Sometimes we play out what I call with my son. I always say, don't play out the chessboard. Don't make the decision of 5 moves that you're going to make ahead of time. Just make the first move and see where it takes you. And then see who shows up in your world. They say, hey, Ananya, what about if you tried this with us? And you're like, no, it doesn't match my chessboard moves. I can't go there. Actually, take a second and go, well, maybe I should just check it out.
Yeah,
Like, maybe
exactly.
that's kind of interesting and see where that goes. Maybe it doesn't go anywhere, but at least walking through open doors has helped me see the world differently and has allowed me to use my skills differently. And when people come to you, they're open, right?
Yes.
It's not like you're banging on a closed door, let me in.
Mhm.
It's like the door is like, sort of
It's
open.
already there,
It's
it's already
there.
open,
And
yeah.
I mean, obviously it has to be within reason. But
Yes, of course.
you understand
yeah.
what I mean?
But yes,
So
100%.
not to be afraid to try something new and different, not to be afraid to follow your heart, and to remember that ultimately you will get to where you need to go. The universe does that, but it doesn't have to be final
Yes.
in the decision that you make today. I started out as a pharmacist, and look at now I'm
Yeah.
like a senator, but I still use all of those tools and all of those skills
Yes.
in my work every day.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that it took that long, because
Mhm.
now I'm a better senator because of it.
Yes, 100%.
So
And I think I can definitely implement that advice in my everyday life, and I know a lot of people watching will also be able to.
excellent.
Because when you have like this set thing, like I'm gonna be this. When I grow up, I'm gonna
I
be
know,
like
so
a
much
doctor or
pressure.
an author.
Right.
And then if you feel like a new interest budding, you often don't like go through that pathway
Right.
because you're like, I have to go this way, not this way.
Journeys are not always linear.
Yeah.
I do think it's wonderful to have a clear goal and a
Mhm.
commitment. That's totally fine, right? Like if I want to be a pharmacist, I do the steps.
Mhm.
But I also, while I was a pharmacist, I became a fencer, and I did other things,
Mhm.
like super interesting things that now changed and gave me richness in my
Mhm.
life too. So
Yes.
I feel like it's all possible. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a recipe, right?
Yeah.
There's all the
Mhm.
spices, and there's the thing that you're making, and it might sometimes you add a little bit more of this or a little bit less of this, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And it's kind of okay, and that makes life more exciting
Mhm.
instead of pressure.
Yes, 100%. And thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome.
Yeah, so now I want to switch gears a little and talk about the event we're at today
Sure.
and a little bit about who's hosting this event, Zoya. So, I was wondering, so you're here attending this event despite, being the state senator, having a very busy schedule. So, I was wondering, like, why do you think it's important to attend events like this and to support youth voices like Zoya's?
100%. I mean, I feel like the youth are our future, right?
Yeah,
They're future,
literally, yeah.
literally, right?
Yeah.
And if people are stepping out and speaking out and creating space, I mean, I really love intersections. Like there's policy and art, there's compassion, there's courage. And art is so important. When you really think about COVID, for example, I always thank artists because, if you were, like, even if you're watching Netflix, that's art, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
it saved us, right?
Yes.
From like when we were isolated, having a connection to one another through art was so meaningful.
Mhm.
So whenever I get a chance, I feel like that's really important to highlight and
Yes.
underscore because it gives us a lot of hope in our world. It bridges connections in ways that are in our heart and our soul instead of just, through words or through social media or
Mhm.
anything like that. And I feel like it's important to highlight that. And I think sometimes we miss out on how does a young person impact
Yeah,
our world?
yeah.
How can young voices inspire us? And I think we need to hear all of those voices.
Yes, 100%. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and thank
you.
you so much for sharing all that you did. It was really very inspiring.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
thank you.
wonderful to be here. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.